You good? Good day, and welcome again to another um, relationship marriage hour. We say welcome to 2025. Happy New Year to those of you who are listening to us. And if you are listening to us, that means you are alive. And it's good to have you joining in with us today for another year that we have planned to bring to you exciting topics. We have planned to bring to you um, thought provoking topics and to try to bring people that will help as we do what we can do to better our relationships and our marriages. And my co host, Dr. Maria MacDonald, she is here with me, and we welcome you into 2025. And we have an exciting time, an exciting topic schedule for you today. But you are watching the Relationship and Marriage Hour here, and this program is brought by Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio, your number one African Caribbean diaspora online radio. And it is out of Canada. Now, you can call a friend, you can call a significant other and tell them that they can join in on the conversation. And they can even text us at 437-778-3299. That's our WhatsApp number. They can text us at 437-778 3299, or they can also join us or and subscribe to us on StreamYard. They can download our app on Google Play and the Apple Store, and they can do our Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, StreamYard, X, and like. Please subscribe, like, and share now as you join us on any one of these platforms as we seek to help relationships and marriages in 2025. Now, this month, we are focusing on if there is a sickness in the family, if your spouse is chronically ill, we know that can play a burden on the family. So what we want to do, we want to talk about that today, and then we want to bring in persons who could give us tips on how we as individuals can better ourselves, because the better we are, then the better we can be as a husband or a wife, and even a father or a mother as we move forward in our relationships. And I bring in now Dr. Maria MacDonald to the conversation. Dr. MacDonald, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, Dr. Alvin, and to our listening audience. Happy New Year to each of you. It is so
Mhm,
good to be back here in 2025 to
mhm.
talk a bit more about our marriages.
Yes.
The topic is a really pertinent one, Dr. Alvin, for
Mhm.
relationships because believe it or not, it's a reality.
Yeah.
Sickness will always come, and how we deal with it is what really matters.
Yes. Yes. So I want to start off with a story, doc, of a personal friend of mine. I'm not going to call names, and if I use names, it would be fictitious names. Um, but a friend of mine, and I stood best man in his wedding. It was a beautiful wedding. Um, we were all happy. We were all elated to watch my longtime friend get married, and he married one of the best persons, I will say, in the world. Besides Tanya, let me put that out there. Besides, and 6 months into their marriage, she started complaining with back pains. So They thought that it was just muscle spasms and all that kind of stuff. So she went to doctor after doctor. So they gave her heating pads, they gave her pills to take, and all of that type of stuff. But the pain would not go away.
Wow.
And when they decided, you know what, let's go do an X-ray. Let's not just get listen to these doctors. Let's go do a physical, find out what's really going on with you. Because I think she even went through to do acupuncture and all that type of stuff. Nothing works, and come to find out that there was a tumor lodged in her spine.
Oh,
It was the size of a grapefruit.
whoa, whoa.
The doctors, when they examined, no doctors in Florida wanted to touch her
Wow.
because the tumor had engulfed all of the bones, and when they looked at it, um, the tumor took the place of the bone. So, so the spinal bone, whatever you call them, is now resting on the tumor, and the doctor said, if we operate, you will not be able to walk.
Mm.
They were surprised that she was able to walk then, and they asked her, they didn't know how she could even walk in their office when
Wow.
they examined the size of that tumor.
Mm.
And there was one doctor who was bold enough who said he will operate, and he operated, and he put some metal disc in her back,
Mm-hmm.
and the cancer, it was cancerous, and the
Oh,
cancer
wow.
had gone for a little while, and then she started feeling pains again, and the cancer came back aggressive.
Yeah.
And I
Wow.
watched my friend, and I walked with him to the best I could through that, and I watched how that sickness dealt with him, because as a husband, you want to help and to protect your family, but there was only so much he can do as he watched his wife in pain. And eventually she died. But that whole process, doc, sickness is nothing to play with.
No.
And
No.
in talking with my friend, when sometimes you feel like there's no one to help you, that is a lot to bear.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
know, that I could understand because that is one thing, Doc, that can really, really shake a marriage.
Hmm.
Because first of all, some men do not like, all women do not like to see their spouse suffer,
Yes.
and especially when you can't do anything.
Yes.
I'm hearing about a gentleman whose wife just passed,
Oh, wow.
and he is believing she's going to come back. So, and again, it was the sickness, the sickness for a period of time, and then now that it was cancer. So we have a lot of our people having to go through cancer or maybe some other debilitating disease or whatever. And it's not good to see your loved one having to suffer.
Yes.
In the marriage, then you wonder what type of support. You said you was there for your friend. What type of support could you have given to him that would have made him feel, encouraged or feel a little better? How did you know?
Okay.
So interesting.
I made sure, doc, that one of the things that I did when I called him, and this may seem very simple,
Hmm.
but in my relationship with him, I saw it as very profound. Is that I would ask him, "How you doing?" Simple question. How are you? Because whenever there is a loved one that is sick, that person tends to get most of the attention. That you don't, that nobody tends to focus on the one who is caring for the sick. And that can be that could play a mental and become a mental toll on you. That, so what, I'm only here to care for the sick and nobody cares for me. Who looks after me, who makes sure I'm okay, who called me to find out if I ate today, or if I need something, or if I need a break. Cause too, my friend's wife became paralyzed. So and she was bedridden for a number of years. So sometimes, well, he still went to work, so he had to pay somebody to be there with her in the day, and then when he came home from work, he then had to be there with her, and the doctor said, well, so she don't develop a bed sore. Every 2 hours you have to turn her over. Well, when is he going to get an opportunity to sleep, to go back to work the following day? So all of that stuff he dealt with. And and sometimes I would call him and say, you know what, is there somebody in the house? I'm coming to take you out just to get something to eat. And i and and i think things like that as friends needs to happen, be because you can get so involved in the routine of taking care of the sick that you forget to take care of yourself.
That's critical. Yes, exactly. Yes.
And days could go by
Hmm.
that you don't even help yourself,
Yes.
because everything is the sick person.
Yes. And that is so true. And even though it could be taxing, the spouse that is well has to have a break, has to get that break in order to stay sane, because having to deal with a sick spouse, having to
Yeah,
work, maybe ensure that the children are, it's not an easy task. So, one of the things we have to encourage them is to make sure you take care of you too. And then other
yeah.
family members can come in and also help, so
This.
one of the other sick spouse, the well spouse can take a break, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but
Because
this,
he brought in his mother, and his mother helped him.
that was good, you know. And then sometimes, Doc, you have those with
Oh wow.
mental issues, and I think that is most taxing on the family, you know, because I know this young man, his wife, she had a mental condition,
Mm,
and in that condition, people were encouraging him to divorce her,
yeah,
you know, and then you wonder. But what I love about him is that he said, no, she's not in a sound mind. He cannot divorce her. So what he did, he stick with it, make sure took care of her while he, tried to live his life. So he, apart. So the mental issue is also a struggle in relationships.
it's a struggle and it's a danger too, Doc.
It is.
Why? Because in you don't know what you can get.
That's it.
Um, I wake up on the side of Tanya tomorrow, and for better or worse, I know basically what I'm going to get. I'm going to get a thoughtful young lady that I can talk to,
Hmm.
and we could plan the day, or we could execute what we have planned for that day,
Right.
and we talk backward and forward. But for someone that is a, a mental issue, then you don't know how to even deal with that, especially too if they're bipolar. Then you don't know which person you're dealing with when, and that can be very challenging. you really need a lot of love and grace to handle that. Um, that mental issue is a tough one. It's a tough one because even with a physical ailment, somebody is paralyzed, at least they're in their sound mind that you can still lay on the bed and talk with them, and you can still, well, you can always pray with them, but you still have that camaraderie. You can still hang out with them, be because they're still your friend. And my friend was able to do that with his wife. He was able to sit down and talk with her, and even though she was in the bed, they still worshiped God together, and they still dreamed together, and they hanged out. Sometimes he went on trips and he was still able to carry her. Just had to do extra stuff, but it still happened. But when you talk about someone who's bipolar and a mental person as who's not taking their meds, now see, doc, that right there, I think, is a very good topic to talk to Dr. Smith about, because sometimes those mental patients, is a hormonal imbalance. So
Yes.
maybe in her area she has seen this and she can address as to
Mhm.
how that can be dealt with on some
Right.
level.
Yes. Yes, because that is true. It seems as though once they have that mental issue, you can tell they are really off balance hormonally.
Hmm. Hmm.
And you can see it because of the display, what they do, you
Hmm.
know. So I don't know if it works together, but it'll be good to have her come and share with us and help enlighten us so that we can understand why is it when a person is like that, they are just so, you know,
Yeah.
ready to go off. But the mental side of it is a challenge. And
Yes.
we will be speaking with Dr. John Dames. She will be coming in. She is a psychiatric um, physician. She will be coming in to shed some more light because
Hmm.
I believe for some reason mental issue seems to be on the increase.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
don't know why, but it seems as though everyone is now having to deal with some mental issues.
Hmm.
So while you know, if those persons take their meds, then they are good. But imagine when they don't take it, the problem that can be experienced in a relationship. Now, what I think should be happening within the relationship is that the other spouse learn about the illness, about what's
Yes, that's very important.
that's that's really really important because if you know, then you would understand. Because
Hmm.
sometimes what I notice when people do not understand mental illness, they tend to feel the person is just acting out.
Hmm.
But the reality is there is an imbalance with that
Hmm.
person,
Hmm.
and in some relationship end up in divorce because of it.
Yes.
So we it will be good for them to know how to or to learn more about it. That there are many people living with mental illnesses, but they are taking their meds. And as long as they're taking those meds, we have doctors in the hospital, but they're taking their meds.
Yeah.
So it's not a disgrace, but when you disgrace, but there are many people they look at it and they try to keep it
Hush,
hidden,
hush.
hush hush, and then your marriage is suffering,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
So for persons that are in a relationship, dog, that are suffering with a sick spouse, whether it's mentally, physically,
And
um,
emotionally too,
I
because
just
that
want to say,
emotional,
yeah,
oh
yeah,
wow.
that could be the a worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if people can't bring their emotions under control,
Hmm. Then we have
that's a shipwreck right there.
exactly. You're right.
Hmm.
You know, so one thing we need to know is, or a person should be aware of, is that they have to time out, even if the relationship is suffering. I mean, not suffering, but you have a sick spouse, chronically ill, chronically ill. It's okay if you have just sickness, um, sickness that are not chronically ill, illness. You could deal with that, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, he's sick today, I can nurse him back to health. But when you have a spouse that is really bedridden,
Chronically, yeah, bad.
disabled,
Mhm.
uh, the thing then we have to learn is to communicate.
Yeah.
Learn how to communicate about what's going on. We should then learn about the illness, whatever the sickness is. You know, I am amazed and I am somewhat pleased when I talk to people and they have a chronic illness in the home, but they can tell you everything about that sickness and what should and should not be taken. I really admire those persons because they are learning
Yeah.
about it and they're trying to bring solution to it.
Yes, 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 yes. And what we need to do to Doc is to bring it from the place of darkness and to shine light on it so that people know that you don't have to suffer in your
Yes,
darkness, but there
yes.
is help for you. And that's one of the reasons I'm happy for this show, and I'm happy that we're talking about it, because there are so many people whose spouses, for one reason or the other, have a mental problem,
Hmm.
and that may just be a chemical imbalance, and they just need to go get tested to get that fixed.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
So so we pray that those listening to us would say, boy, you know what, I think my spouse will fall in that category. My significant other fall in that category, because I call them in the morning, they're fine. Call it noonday, they are a totally different person. Um, then boy, if you're confused before the marriage, more than likely you can be more confused after the marriage.
After, yes. Now there are some, doc, I agree with that, but I'm thinking about a lady, she was bipolar. She was bipolar and she got married. And it reached the point the husband was afraid to live with her. He was afraid if he goes sleep, she will take him out.
Oh wow.
So they ended up going their separate ways, you know,
Mm,
because
yeah.
it's hard for you to be able to sleep with someone, um, or sleep in a home and not knowing what could possibly happen.
Yeah,
Now,
because out of the blue, out of the blue, they could just pick up, and you could be sitting on the side of them having a good time, and out of the blue, they go to the kitchen, and you think they're going to get something to drink, and they come back with a knife.
so how do you deal with those type of situations in a marriage?
Oh wow, that one I can't answer. I can't answer that one, dog, because
Yeah,
that's serious. Because if you are in fear for your life,
yes,
what do you do?
right,
And mind you, love would tell you, and even starting a friendship, your friendship would tell you that's your friend, help them out.
right.
But even in helping them, you can help them. um, but I take on the same attitude of the stewardess in the airplane, when the stewardess says to us,
So all
if
your
if
mask.
the pressure decreases,
Hmm.
oxygen mask will fall.
That's right.
Put yours on first.
First,
Make
yeah,
sure you are make,
yes,
make sure you are good first.
yes,
Then you can assist others.
that's right. So that answers that question to a point, because if you are in fear for your life, doc, there's no way you can stay in that same house.
Yeah.
Now, it may not, I mean, you're ready for divorce, but you can both, and I don't want to be the one to say this, but there comes a time you have to make decisions
Yeah.
where it involves your safety in
Yeah.
your life. You have to make decisions, you know, because the thing is, these people are not playing that they have an issue. They really do have an issue.
Yes.
And some of the ways we can help them is to ensure that they take their meds so that they can become balanced, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, Doc, we even didn't talk about dementia.
Oh Lord,
That's a
yeah,
whole different one now,
yeah, yeah.
because now you have this person that you spent so much years with, and you've built a family
Hmm.
and build years of memory, that you sit on the side of them and they don't even remember who you are.
Right.
That can play a toll on you.
Yes.
um how do you get by, like,
You know,
no, go on.
you know what I'm thinking right now? It brings in integrity in that relationship. It
Hmm.
brings in integrity, meaning that that person is not in their right mind. But the other spouse has to have that much integrity to know that I will do what is right for my my spouse, my wife, my husband. You
Hmm.
have to. You have to help them because sometimes, it's really real. The struggle is real, and to have a spouse that has totally forgotten who he or she is or who you are to her, it takes integrity, and because either one of those spouse can now go out and not even check. But it's what do you want to do? What do you want to see? Do you want to help that person? See, because number one, when we stood and make our vows, if you did say it, because sometimes people rewrite their vows, if
Hmm.
you did say it for better or for worse, this is that worst right here. This is the worst. Then what are you going to do? Are you going to put her out, call her family to take her on? That's yours. It's so easy to put that person on to their family. But
Yes.
you know, integrity. This is my husband, this is my wife. I'll continue to take care of him. And I see people do it, you know. I saw, and while this was only a clipping from TikTok, where this gentleman was on the plane with dementia.
Hmm.
And his wife went to the restroom. By the time she came out, he was totally confused as to where he was. And
Mm.
she came, and the people were trying to, like, they didn't understand what was happening. They
Yeah, trying to calm him down.
Yeah, and then she said, no, 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 just sing. She started singing for him, and as she sang, he started to calm down. But when he was calmed down, he was just like a gentle lamb, you know. So it's how we deal with them. Are you prepared to stay with that person even in their bad days? I one of the things I tend to look at, Doc, is the fact that how your spouse treated you when or he or she was well.
Yes.
And the least we can do is to return that goodness to them in their time when they need it most. You know, it may not be easy, but that's where we can say, well, I'm doing what I know I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, I'm doing my part.
Yeah. As opposed to looking for another woman or looking for
Yeah.
another man, and,
Yeah.
and your wife or your husband is suffering, you know. For me, that is not cool, you know.
Yeah.
So, in cases, Doc, where there's not dementia or any mental issues, when there's maybe a disability in the relationship or some other chronic diseases, I believe this is the time when those persons must now sit down and rewrite their future plans, because now you have to adjust everything. It cannot be the plan that you may have had before. And then how do we get through this? Because We had plans that when we would have um, reached a certain age, we retire, we go somewhere, or we do something, and then we find that, oh, my husband can't walk. We now need to sit down and readjust. How are we going to do? What are we going to do in order to continue the relationship?
And Doc, that is harder said. Well, that's easier said than done.
And then, yeah,
The, because when I took you to the altar, in my mind, I took a healthy person, and we had planned to spend the rest of our lives together.
right.
We were supposed to hold hand and walk on the beach and walk in the sunset. We were supposed to build homes and all of that, and not just see our grandchildren, see our great grandchildren. Now, I'm not saying that that can't happen and God isn't powerful, because He is all powerful, um, to perform His word. God will do it if we allow Him to. Um, and boy, we'll be better for it, Doc. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, so Doc, what do you think then of persons who would have been married for more than maybe anything beyond 10 years, and you find that your spouse is now chronically ill?
Okay, let me give you my personal story. My mother and father married for over 50 plus years. My mother started complaining with swallowing issues and tingling in her throat, um, little dizziness and stuff. So we carried her to the doctor, and the doctor said, "Okay, well, she should be okay, but let's err on caution. Let's test her blood, and then let's send her and get more x-rays and all of that type stuff." After everything was done, my mother was diagnosed with um, cancer to the throat, thyroid cancer, fourth stage thyroid cancer. And I watched be I watched my well one of my sisters. She quit her job to go home with my father and take care of my mummy, our mother. And we watched our mother um, go from somewhere where maybe 170 something pounds. And when we buried my mother, she was 97 pounds. And we watched that woman suffer. And I saw the toll that played on my father and my siblings. And it's still and it is still playing a toll on us, because to us this woman was the sweetest woman ever. She never hurt anyone. She she did in our minds everything right according to our culture and our biblical belief. She she was a dutiful wife, a dutiful mother, grandmother, and great grandmother. And we watched cancer eat away at her as she fought to stay here a bit longer. And even after my mother died, I sat down. I sat down and had a conversation with my father, and he said to me that ah, he said, "Alvin, boy, me and your mommy sit down and talk." And she called me to the bed and she said, um, "Kenneth, I ain't gonna be here much longer. From what I can see, this ain't gonna happen, yeah, much longer. But I watch my children, they come and hang out with me every day, and I'm fighting for them, but I don't know how much longer I could fight." And cancer, oh my, it pains me now, Doc.
Yeah.
Sometimes too, our loved ones suffer
Hmm.
because they want to be around for us.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And they would have let go a long time ago or before that, but because they see in our eyes that we want them around,
Yes.
they fight extra just to be around.
To be around. Yes. Yes.
And Doc, in talking to my mother on the day that she died, because for a good while,
Hmm.
every day I would call my mother, and her and I will pray. On the day that she died, every that morning, she said these words to me. She said, "Alvin, let your brothers and sisters know that mommy did her best." Oh Jesus!
Wow.
That mommy fought as long as she could.
Wow. Wow.
And I watched that tear us all up
Yes.
inside,
She tried. She
but it
tried.
pulled us together as a family.
Yes.
So even in sickness, we have to learn how to bond together
Yes. Yes.
and to don't let it divide us,
Yes.
but let us realize that we are all humans
Yes.
and we are only here but for a short time.
Short time.
And while we are here, we can enjoy life as
Yes.
best we can.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah.
This is a very touching moment. I feel you, Doc, because, a year ago, this
Hmm.
very month was when my mom took her flight and left us.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. So, and what I'm looking at in relationships, Doc, that's why it's so important for instead of there being division in the marriage or we being selfish, either spouse, we need to just be around that person, help that
Hmm.
person. Because, I feel there's nothing worse than to die brokenhearted,
Hmm. Hmm.
die brokenhearted that your spouse did not take the time to spend these moments with you.
Hmm.
Sometimes we don't want them to go, like you say, but the
Hmm.
Lord knows best,
Hmm.
and they leave us.
Hmm.
So, I always say rather than live with regrets, Doc, let's treat them right,
Yeah. And
especially marriage. Mhm.
then too, um, Doc, it's hard sometimes, and I understand from the flip side that
Mhm.
um, when I marry you, you were vibrant.
Yeah.
You were easygoing. We planned to travel the world. We planned to do all of these things,
Hmm.
and then this sickness
All
just
is
comes out
there.
of nowhere, and boy, that those dreams are dashed.
Yes.
And and I could see the person saying, "Boy, even though I said for better, for worse, for richer, for poor, I didn't expect that."
No. No.
Yeah,
And you're not looking for it. No.
and I and they are not ready. Some of them are not ready.
No.
Um, because even if you look at us, I don't think at the beginning any of my mother's 9 children were. I don't think her husband, my father, was ready.
No.
But as we went from day to day, and we took turns,
Right.
when my sister, who moved back home, because my mommy and daddy have aged, and when
Yeah.
I my father is he's 84, going to be 85 this year, and
Hmm.
and, and mom died six years ago this year, so
Okay.
they were up in age for our culture.
Yeah. The
So
78 is not old.
yeah, 78 is still young,
Hmm.
um, but he was able to take a breather
Yeah.
because mom got to the point where they had to lift her to take her to the tub to bathe her,
Oh wow.
lift her to do this, lift her to do that, and it was very rough on my father to do, and it got tiring for Monica, my
Yeah.
sister, to do. So that's why my brothers Lawrence and Micah and Jonah would go by and help lift her up and put her where she needs to be and to make her as comfortable as they could. So
Yeah.
I see everybody was there to pitch in.
Right.
So why I'm saying that is don't try to do it by yourself because it'll kill you.
It will kill. Oh yes. Oh yes.
It could
It,
kill
it,
you.
it could. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. How did your dad adapt to that new life with having to deal with his wife at this point? How did he deal with it? I know you all were the support around him, but how did he deal?
I I think it played a mental toll on him because after 54 years of this woman being vibrant and doing things, working, cooking, uh, taking care of you, and now you are taking care of her. She's ironing your clothes, she's cooking, she's making sure that you are good. Now the roles are turned. You have to put her in the tub and you gotta bathe her.
Yes, yes, yes.
Um, you you can't go out. You got to stay home to make sure that
She's
she's okay. Cause
wow.
too, with the type of cancer that mom had in her throat, the doctor said, boy, she could swallow some coal and just throat and choke to death. So we had to be there just to make sure that she was okay, and
Wow.
um
Wow.
and that was a lot.
It sure is. Just listening to you. And nine kids, but yet it was taxing on everyone.
Hmm.
And that's the reality of it
Hmm.
in relationships. So there are times maybe it's just two, no kids in the family. So can you imagine? So that is where that spouse would reach out to family members and get some help because it really taxing.
Hmm.
I know a little of it from my granddad.
Uh-huh.
When he took down my mom, she was basically the only one that was there for him. The others would come and go, but it was like she trying to lift him by herself.
Oh,
So
wow.
she had to get someone to come and help, you know, because when he needed to clean up and freshen
Hmm.
up, you couldn't leave him there. So she had to try her best to make sure. So dealing with a sick spouse, Dr. Alvin, it's not easy.
Not
And
at
I
all.
sympathize with those persons that have to go through it. But I commend those that are really taking on their role of caring for that person when they are now sick.
Hmm.
You know, you don't just dump them in a home or a hospice because you can't, you know. I mean, if you really can't do any better and you have to, but you still be there.
Yes.
You still be there, you know. Let them not miss you because you're always there.
Hmm.
And you know, you
Yeah.
would have done your part to say until death do us part.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's how serious that vow is, Doc.
It is, yes, very, very
That
serious.
when I said to Tanya, I I am yours in sickness and in health,
And that's serious.
that's serious.
That's a covenant. That's a
Yeah.
not easily
And
broken.
yeah,
Yeah.
it shouldn't be, but
No.
I I guess some people just look at the health part and the wealth part. For better, for worse, they look for the better part.
Yes.
But worse could happen.
It could happen. And you know, it could be you,
Yeah.
it could be
What would you want? Yeah.
right. So therefore, I always believe in doing unto others the way you would want them to do unto you,
Yes.
especially in marriages.
Mhm.
We can find all of the excuse doctors say, well, oh, I can't take care of her. I can't be there, learn, and that's a comfort to that person, right? Just are you being there,
It
sharing with
is.
them, talking.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
thing is, one cannot put sickness upon itself, and I don't know if there's anyone in this life that would want to be sick, you know, want to really be debilitated where they can't
Mm-hmm.
do anything. It's not the desire of anyone. So when we find people in those positions, we need to just love them into good health, you know. If they are
Okay.
um, paralyzed or anything, disabled or anything, you just love them into good health. Because,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I've heard about this woman, she was paralyzed for about a year and then she got healed.
Yeah. Praise the Lord.
It can happen.
Yes,
So
it
if,
can.
if we just neglect or refuse to accept, that would not be nice. I've
Yeah.
heard this gentleman, his wife was sick and he could not go in the room where she was because he couldn't stand to see her go through the pain that she was in,
Mm.
which is understood. But that is why it's important to get to understand the sickness, whatever it is, learn about it, find out what it is, and
Yeah.
just brace ourselves for it. But know
Mm-hmm.
what it's all about.
That's what we should do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, those of you who are listening to us, you can join in the conversation. You can send your questions. You can send your comments. You can even text us here at the Marriage um, and Relationship Hour. We're dealing with chronic sickness of a spouse and how that can affect the family and what you can do to still be that support in the midst of that trouble, because you are still expected to be there once you are married. And these are stuff that you need to talk about even before marriage, just in case it happens. What's the game plan if we get married and I fall ill? What's the game plan if we get married and you fall ill? How do we make this marriage still work? And that is something that needs to be discussed so that you all too can be on the same page. So we want you to call a friend, call a partner, and let them know that we are here um, on Love Bay today. We are here talking on this topic of dealing with a chronically ill or a sick spouse. Okay, Dr. Maria.
Yes, Doc.
Yeah.
Um, One thing we didn't look at, Dr. Alvin, during a chronic illness is financial burden.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that illness that your spouse may be faced with can wipe out everything you have,
Yeah.
wipe out everything. So, that is why it's so important when you're planning, when you sit down and talk, what if this happens?
Yeah.
How
How do
should,
I deal?
what should we do? What should you do? Because you can get wiped out. And then that adds stress on both on you and the sick spouse already sick trying to survive. And then you, the surviving spouse or the healthy one, now have that bill over your head and you begin to worry and fret.
And if there's children too, cause that's a dog, that's another issue.
That's a big issue. So that's why it's important that you make sure you secure yourself, get adequate coverage, insurance. And sometimes you can have adequate insurance, doc, and you could use it all up, you know.
Hmm.
So those are things that can possibly happen. But of all that can go wrong, my word that I would like people to always go with is take care of your spouse. Take care of your spouse. Whether they, it's a chronic illness, there's lack of funding, do whatever you can so they can be comfortable
Yes.
and
Yeah.
take care of them. Because when they're gone, you cannot reverse what you didn't do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
boy, doc, so many people are living with regrets.
Hmm.
I wish I had done this. If I had
Hmm.
only taken care of him long enough, I could have
Hmm.
given, don't don't live with that regret. Let us take care of them, and do what we can while they are yet, with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is so true, Doc, because many people are still living their best life and they're not checking for the person who's ill. And then once that loved one is gone, then they realize that their world is shattered, that their world um, is fallen. But it's too late now. So while you have the chance, while you have the opportunity, um, and we're talking not just about marriages, we're talking about relationships. So, daughter, go and visit your mother. Son, go and visit your mother. Go visit your father. Um, it ain't that serious what they did. Yes, it hurt, all of that stuff we understand. And yes, it was years of pain and trauma, but let them go. And then you forgive them. Because one of the things I find out, Doc, is that in every generation, we seek to make sure that our offspring are better off than us. So who's to say that your mommy and daddy did not do the best they can with the cards that were dealt to them? And yes, you could do a better job, but you have more resources
Yeah.
and all of that stuff. So when it comes to the relationship, you need to be there. That's more important. Your presence is more important than money, than a card, than a good wish voice note. You being there can be an encouragement.
Dr. Alvin, you bring this topic up, and then I think of forgiveness.
Oh Lord.
You know, what are we talking about in relationships? The buzzword, Dr. Alvin, is forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we are holding on to nothing, a bag with air, because something would have happened long time, and we are holding it against a person that is terminally ill.
Yeah.
Let it go,
Yeah.
because when they are gone, it's even harder for you to release it. You know, what feels good is to know that if someone is terminally ill, and you all had a disagreement, you go to that person before they die and say, look, what we are upset and holding grudge about, it's not worth it, and just release that person before they die. I'm with you on that, and I'm passionate about that
Yeah.
forgiveness, because
Yeah.
it's hard for you. There are a lot of people, doc, living with regrets, and they're hard on themselves. Some of them refuse to forgive themselves because they didn't forgive somebody else, and the person is no longer with us. So it's always good, quick, get it out and let it go. Let it go.
Very powerful. Let it go.
Hmm.
And you do your part. That's another thing. You
Yes,
made the vow. No, I would hope nobody put a gun to your head, but you went before the altar or wherever you stood with your beloved and you said those words.
yes,
Um, I'm
yes.
yours for better, for worse, for richer or poor, in sickness and in health, forsaking all others, truthful only to you, and
Mhm.
loyal to you until death us do part. You
That's right.
said those words.
You
You
said
said
it. If you did.
you be a woman.
Yes,
because you should be mature when you say it to honor them words.
that's right. Be a
Well,
man.
it's hard. Who said it
Yeah,
was going to be easy?
get
No,
all worse. Get all worse. So,
you said for better or worse.
mhm,
So
mhm,
you said in the good times and the bad times, I
that's
gonna
right.
be here. So why you in there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. And that is so true. We have seasons, doc. We have seasons. We don't have. Some countries may have a year-round season, but we have 4 seasons. So in a marriage, you will have seasons. You may have some good, you may have some bad. Whatever season you're in, you make the most out of it because it's going to change. It's not going to remain. And when it changes, sometimes you tend to say, if I had only done this. No,
Yes.
take it as it comes. Take,
Mhm.
if your spouse is terminally ill, make them happy. Give them their bucket list.
Mhm.
See what they want to enjoy before they leave this side.
Yeah.
And give them a good, the thing is, Doc, what you do for others comes back to you.
Yes. Yes.
That's the beauty of it.
Yes. Yes. And then too, if your partner is terminally ill at the point of death, why don't you want to be around them
Yes,
to spend those last minutes with the person that you love
yes, yes. It,
and
it makes,
have them enjoy the last couple days, years of their
right.
life?
Yeah.
Because with our mom, doc, the doctors said to us in Grand Bahama, he said, y'all could do one or two things. Y'all can leave her here, and we'll have the nurses, and we will look after her, or y'all could take her home. We had a meeting, and and everybody asked what y'all want to do. So we looked at mom, and mom said, listen, get me out of this hospital. Let me spend my
Smart
last
woman.
bit of time with the people I love. Because then at the hospital, we can only go see her
Certain time.
a certain time. Her sister, her brothers, her nieces and nephews can only go see her during visiting hours. But when we took her home, they could go anytime to see her. And the doctors who was giving her about 2 to 3 weeks to live, she lived for over a year at the house.
Wow. Remarkable.
Hmm.
That's good. And had she stayed in the hospital, she
She
probably
may
would
have
have.
been dead. Yeah, she wouldn't have been
And
able to do that.
that's good because we made the same decision with our mom. We took her home
Hmm.
because she was that ill. We took her home, and even though she died the next day, at least we
Hmm.
made sure she was comfortable.
Yeah, yeah, and that's most important.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So, Doc, my last words to persons that are living with a sick or chronically ill spouse is to just be patient. You may have to revisit your expectations. You may have to ensure that the finances are there, and just make your spouse happy.
Yes.
Them the last happiest years of their life.
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
once they are gone, you live with no regrets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And we want to encourage you, our listening audience, to continue to tune in from Sunday to Sunday, from 3 to 4, uh, uh, as we bring you these topics. We want you to join us on IG, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, StreamYard X, and like, subscribe, and share. Yes, follow us. Um, as we do these broadcasts because we're doing it for you. And this program is brought to you today by Love Bay Afro Beat Music Talk Radio, your number one African Caribbean diaspora online radio. It is out of Canada, but you've been joined today by Dr. Maria MacDonald and myself, Dr. Alvin Hepburn. We are out of Nassau, Bahamas. And we want to say to you, thank you for listening to us today. And for the rest of this month, we'll be talking about getting well and dealing with a spouse that is ill. How do we still keep the family intact while going through that season in our lives? So you be blessed and encouraged, and we hope and pray that you enjoyed our time today, and we will see you again next week, same time, same place, as we further the conversation. Have a good one. Blessings and peace.